Yes. No, I have made it open. Why? Nobody is showing. That's all? Hello? Only 45 students out of 73. It's almost half of the students. What happened? Hello? Why only few students? Is the slide visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So a very good morning to all of you.
Good morning, sir.
I have a confirm that I have received all the assignments from all the students. I have received the assignment, so I confirm it. So today, in continuations with my last class about the histology of the stomach. Okay. So as you have remembered, the stomach histologically you will find two types of mucosa: glandular and non-glandular mucosa. And carnivores is having only glandular mucosa lined by simple columnar epithelium. And stomach has all the layers of typical tubular organs. That means tunica mucosa, tunica submucosa, tunica muscularis, and the tunica serosa. Considering the non-glandular region of the tunica mucosa, so you will find this non-glandular part is fully absent in carnivores. Junction of the glandular and non-glandular mucosa of the stomach is termed as margo plicatus in horses. The junction between glandular part of the stomach and the non-glandular part of the stomach, or the glandular region and the non-glandular regions, the junction is called as margo plicatus in horses. And non-glandular region is highly developed in case of ruminants or in the ruminant stomach. and non-glandular region is lined by stratified squamous epithelium. First, let us discuss about the glandular region. So, glandular region of the tunica mucosa. So, it is mainly you will find a lot of elevations like gastric folds, then the depressions, which are the gastric folds are separated with the help of the gastric pits, and below the gastric pits you will find the gastric glands. So, in the gastric pits, or especially the deeper part of the gastric pits, you will find simple columnar type of epithelium, which are divided by the process of mitosis, and there is rapid turnover of these columnar epithelial cells at every 3 to 4 days. And the gastric glands, they are densely packed, means more numbers of, you will find high quantities of the glands, especially in the lamina propria. And as you remember, between the bases of the glands, that means between the lamina propria, where the glands are located, between the bases of the glands and the next layer, that is the lamina muscularis, you will find an additional collagen fibers layer. In case of dogs, presence of collagen fibers layers between the bases of the gastric glands and the lamina muscularis is termed as strata compactum in dogs. This layer is called as stratum compactum in dogs. Lamina muscularis consists normally 3 layers: inner oblique, middle circular, and outer longitudinal layer. Inner oblique, over oblique, middle circular, outer longitudinal layer. An entire gastric gland region of the tunica mucosa. Entire. So, yes. Okay. Entire glandular region of the tunica mucosa is again divided into 3 regions. It is cardiac gland region, fundic gland region, and pyloric gland region. So glandular region, or the glandular part of the stomach, is having 3 regions: cardiac, fundic, and pyloric. Out of these 3 gland regions, fundic gland region is well developed, and many of the important cells occupy the fundic gland region of the stomach in all the animals. Okay, so let us see one by one what we find in the cardiac gland regions. So first, let us see the different layers. As I have told you, you will find many gastric folds. So these are the gastric folds, the elevation, the gastric folds, and then between the fold you will find a depression. So these depression are the gastric pits. This is the gastric pits. Okay, so below the pits, within the lamina propria, this is the entire, this is the lamina propria, you will find many gastric glands. These are the gastric glands. Okay, so these are the gastric glands. Then you will find next layer is the muscularis mucosae oil, muscularis mucosae. And then you will feel this is the cardiac region of the stomach. And here, what you will find, you see, here the mucous neck cells, you will find along the pit, as well as here, lamina, or it's the lymphatic nodules you will find. Now, as you know, the glandular region of the stomach is divided into 3 parts again: cardiac gland region, fundic gland region, and the pyloric gland region. So let us see, as I have told you, that out of the 3 regions, cardiac, fundic, and pyloric, Fundic is the extensive. Fundic gland region is extensively developed. So here in case of peak, you see the cardiac gland region is extensive. In case of peak, cardiac gland region is extensive or is extensive in peaks. And how the cardiac gland regions are, cardiac glands are. Cardiac glands are very short, simple branch coil tubular glands. And these glands are lined by cuboidal cells with basal nuclei, basally placed nuclei. And cardiac gland region is almost non-existent in horse. These are the 4 important characteristics pertaining to the cardiac gland region of the stomach. As per the species, it is extensive in pigs, almost non-existent in horse. As per the glands are concerned, simple branch coil tubular glands with basal nuclei. Clear? Extensive in pigs, almost non-existent in horse. Glands are short branch coil tubular glands, and cuboidal cells lines this gland, where you find basally placed nuclei. Fundic gland region, as I have told you, this is a very important part. Fundic gland region. Okay, so it is very, very important. And this gland region, you can see dog. In dog, it's cover more than 1/2 of the stomach. Fundic gland region in dog is cover more than 1/2 of the stomach. In horses, it covers more than 1/3 of the stomach. And in pigs, it's covered more than 1/4 of the stomach. And in cattle, it covered more than 2/3 of the stomach. So dog, fundic gland region is more than 1/2, horse more than 1/3, pig 1/4, cattle more than 2/3 of the stomach. And in the fundic gland region, you will find light and dark zone in dogs. Okay, so where you will find deeper and shallow gastric pits, very deep gastric pits and the shallow gastric pits. And about the gland, they are straight branch tubular glands. In earlier cases, cardiac glands were short coil tubular glands, but here straight branch tubular gland extends to the lamina muscularis. Important. These glands are straight branch tubular glands that extend to lamina muscularis, and the glands have a very short neck. The neck is short, long body, and the dilated blind end. That's why it is called as the fundus. The blind end, the end of the or the terminal part of the gland is having a blind end. It is the fundus. And in the fundic gland regions, you will find that there is 4 types of cells. So what are the cells of the fundic gland regions? There is a mucous neck cells, the sheep cells, parietal cells, and the endocrine cells. Fundic gland region consists of 4 types of cells: mucous neck cells, sheep cells, parietal cells, and endocrine cells. So these are the 4 cells predominant in the fundic gland region. So now let us see how is the mucous neck cells. The name indicates mucous neck cell in the neck of the gland you will find. They are typical mucous cells. They secrete the mucus. They are having a flat nucleus at the basal part of the cells or at the bottom of the cell. The typical mucus secreting cells with flat nucleus at the basal position. Cytoplasm is basophilic, PAS positive. You know what is PAS? PAS, you know about it? I have told you in the last class. PAS means periodic acid skip. Okay? It is a staining. It is a name of a stain. So these mucous neck cells, they are having basophilic cytoplasm and they stain positive with the PAS stain, periodic acid skip stain throughout. Then the what is called, you can see the fundic gland region of the stomach. I have told you neck cells, you will find the parietal cells. You can say these parietal cells open appear very clear Okay, cytoplasm is appear transparent, clear. They are often large and triangular in shape, eosinophilic, and you can say it is the appearance of a fried egg. Sometimes examiner asks, the fried egg-shaped cells, where you will find? Fried egg-shaped cells is the parietal cells in the funding gland region. Then the sheath cells you can see with this arrow, they are little darker. Cytoplasm is darker compared to the parietal cells. So parietal cells you will find very transparent, okay? But in the sheath cells you will find darker, and you will find round nuclei, and mostly in the lower portion of the glands you will find the sheath cells. Here you can say these are the glands. You can say almost straight branch tubular gland. Almost straight, is not coiled by. Okay. And here you see the neck cells, simply neck cell or the mucous neck cells at the neck of the gland. The parietal cells very clear, and the sheath cells towards the terminal part of the glands, or toward the bottom part of the gland you will find the sheath cells. Sheath cells are darker, having the round nucleus, but parietal cells you will find they are lighter in color or transparent. So in details about the sheath cells. So sheath cells, they are cuboidal shaped cells with basal nucleus and spherical shape. Clear? The sheath cells are cuboidal shaped cells with basally based nucleus, spherical shape. And you know the surface of the cells. Already I have told you while we discuss the cytology. Cell is having two lateral surface, apical surface or a free surface, and below you will find a basal surface. So what I am telling about the area between the free surface. Suppose my slide, you can say this side is the lateral surface, this is the lateral surface, this is the free surface, and below it is the basal surface. Below is the basal surface. So area between free surface, that means this free surface of the cell and the nucleus. Suppose nucleus is located in this position basally. So this area, okay, area between the free surface of the cell and the nucleus, this area, it is called as lacy after fixation in the laboratory. Okay, and this area is filled with certain granules called zymogen granules in the living condition, and that's why these cells are called as zymogen cells. Okay, the sheath cells, other name of the sheath cell is called as zymogen cells. Why they are called zymogen cells? Because between their free surface and the nucleus, the area is appear lacy in fixation, and in living condition this area is filled with zymogen granules. That's why it is called as zymogen cells. And basal part of the cell is basophilic. Okay, and secrete the pepsinogen. This cell, function of these cells is the secretion of the pepsinogens. Parietal cells, you can say they are larger than the sheath cell. You can see here the sheath cell, they are smaller. You can see the parietal cells, they are larger. You can see more details here. You see the parietal cells, they are very large, but you can see the sheath cells. Okay, they are smaller. Parietal cells are very large. So parietal cells, they are larger than the sheath cells, and mostly they occur singly at the periphery of the sheath cells. Parietal cells, they occur at the periphery to the sheath cells, and they are having spherical nucleus. Spherical nucleus, and the cytoplasm is stained with deeply with the eosin and has a granular appearance due to the presence of numerous mitochondria. Cytoplasm has, okay, granular appearance. Why it is? Due to presence of various numbers of mitochondria. At the apex means apical part, cell membrane invaginate to form the branching intercellular canaliculus, and numerous microvilli project into the canaliculus. And within this canaliculus, free hydrochloric acid is formed. So parietal cells, they secrete the HCl. So important characteristic of parietal cells, they are larger than sheath cells. They occur as a single cell at the periphery of the sheath cells. Cytoplasm stains deeply with eosins. Cytoplasm having granular appearance due to various mitochondria. And the apex, you will find numerous microvilli that project into the intercellular canaliculus, and in the canaliculus only 3 HCl is formed. Then the last category of the soul is the endocrine cells. So first you will find that in the Purkinje gland regions there are 4 types of cells: mucous neck cells, parietal, sieve, and the last is the endocrine or the enteroendocrine cells. So these cells, they secrete the gastrin, hormone gastrin, secretin, cholecystokinin, and GIP, gastric inhibiting peptides. Okay, the endocrine cells, they secrete the gastrin, secretin, cholecystokinin, and GIP, gastric inhibitory peptides. And these endocrine cells, they are also termed as argentefin cells. Why? Because some cells show affinity towards silverstein. Argentefin, that means affinity. While you study the connective tissue, you have studied probably 3 types of fibers: collagen fibers, elastic fibers, reticular fibers. So reticular fiber is also termed as argentefin fibers because reticular fibers have affinity towards silver salt. Similarly, out of all the endocrine cells, some cells, they store their affinity, their affections towards the silver stain or silver salts. That's why some of the endocrine cells also termed as argentefin cell or argyrophilic cells. And some of the endocrine cells, they show their affinity or they stain with potassium dichromate ions. That's why these cells called as enterochromatin cells. Here, it is not that all the endocrine cells are argentefin or enterochromatin. Some of the cells which shows the affinity towards silver salt is called as argentefin. Those cells shows their affinity towards potassium dichromate. They are called as enterochromatin cells. And these cells are located between the basement membrane and the SIP cells. Okay, and there is specific stain to see these cells, endocrine cells, in the routine hematoxylin and eosin stain. You cannot see these cells under the microscope. There is specific stains to be performed in order to see these cells, endocrine cells. And these endocrine cells are located between basement membrane and the SIP cells. And till today, 12 different types of endocrine cells is identified with the Hellberg electron microscope. 12 different cells. And they are also called as APAT cells. APAT means amine precursors uptake and decarboxylation. Okay, they are also called because these cells they are also called as the cells of the APAT system, amine precursors uptake and decarboxylation reactions. Amine. Then the third gland regions. Okay, within the glandular region of the stomach, it is called as pyloric gland regions. So pyloric gland regions, they are the branch, coil tubular glands, and gastric pits are deeper. Pyloric gland regions, they are the branch, coil tubular glands, and gastric pits are deeper. So that is about the glandular region of the stomach. Any point here? Hello? Huh?
No, sir.
Okay. So then we'll go to the what is called non-granular region of the stomach. Okay, in which species non-granular region is extensive? Horse?
Peg.
Non-glandular region of the stomach. Where it is extensive? Huh?
Carnivores.
It is? Where?
Ruminant.
Ruminant, not in the horse. Okay, it is in the ruminant. So did you study it grossly, the ruminant stomach? Gross anatomy? Abdomen? Not yet. Okay, in that case, little you will have problem. Okay, then today we will just discuss few points. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, non-glandular stomach, so it is extensively development in the ruminants. So, ruminants, as you know, there is 4 distinct compartments. The swallows, unsewed, regurgitates, eats, chews, and re-swallows. Why it is called as ruminants? Okay, and main functions, the microorganism breakdowns the cellulose. So that the ruminant stomach compartment, the rumen responsible for 80% of the capacity, the reticulum 5% of the capacity, omesum 7% of the capacity, and abomesum 8% of the capacity. So these are little functional aspects. Last fermentation fats, microorganism breakdown cellulose, bacteria, protozoa, creates a lot of gases, that is mainly the methane. And ruminants have to be able to erupt bells, and roughages are reduced in size. So this is the rumen picture. You can see most of the upper part, you have the gas, okay, and here you will find at the down, you will find the feeds. In this, the feed materials. You can see the compartment. So you should have a brief gross anatomical knowledge. So mostly you see the rumen, it is located on the left side of the abdominal cavity, left side. And reticulum is located cranially. Okay. Rumen you will find mostly on the left side of the abdomen. Ventrally it may come a little bit to the right side, but 90% of the rumen is located on the left side of the abdomen. Reticulum is located in the cranial side, cranial part. Okay, and omesum is located on the right side. And abomesum is ventral to all the other 3 compartments. That is regarding position of the ruminant stomach. The rumen on the left side, reticulum, cranial part remain attached or near to the diaphragm, omesum on the right side, and abomesum ventral to all other 3 compartments of the ruminant stomach. So you see in a young-born calf, rumen is not developed. So young, when they are suckling the milk, okay, rumen does not develop in the young until they are weaned and begin to eat solid feeds. So development of the rumen is started at 21 days and completed by 90 days. Okay, so in the early period, in a suckling calf, rumen is not developed. So the reticulum, you can see the interior of the reticulum, it is a honey. Have you seen this is a honeycomb-like structure? Clear? So this is the reticulum, interior structure, internal structure of the reticulum. So I'm just coming one of the important point. You see, so where the reticulum is located?
Cranial to
Cranially.
abdominal.
Radially. Okay. So what happens normally? These animals, they take in the grasses, grazing field. Okay. So with a human being is having to cut our nails or thrown some wares. Okay. Cutting our nails in the field. Okay, whether in a sports field or any other fields, or you go for picnic spots or anywhere. So you just cut your nails. So what happens, as well as sometimes the small nails or the small wires. So while these animals, okay, grazing animals, along with their feet, these nails, the nails, whether it is a human nails or a small wires, copper wires or small wire, all comes with the food material to the interior. Okay, so through the mouth, through the esophagus, it will go, and first it will go to the rumen. Okay, it will go to the rumen, and during the movement of the ruminal musculature, so next it will go rumen to the reticulum here. Okay, because esophagus will end, esophagus is terminated in the rumen, first compartment of the ruminant stomach. Then from here, it will go to the reticulum. Okay. So then, what happens if it is a sharp object? If it is a very sharp object, like the nails, the human nails, okay, or the iron nails, they try to damage. You can see these nails. They used to damage this structure. Okay, they damage the internal structure, the honeycomb-like structures. And what happens if this condition is not detected early? Then they used to penetrate the wall of the reticulum. They will penetrate the wall of the reticulum, and once they penetrate the wall of the reticulum, then next to the reticulum you will find the boundary between thoracic and abdominal cavity. That is called as what?
Diaphragm.
Diaphragm. So they pierce the diaphragm. They pierce the diaphragm. That means they cause damage to the diaphragm, and from there they may go out to the pericardium of the heart. Okay, this is a very pathetic condition if it is not diagnosed early. So it may develop to the traumatic pericarditis, hardware disease. Traumatic pericarditis. That means trauma into the pericardium. Trauma into the pericardium. Okay. So in the initial stage, it will be called as traumatic reticulitis, trauma in the reticulum. So if you can diagnose it, there are different tests you will study in the medicine. There are different tests to diagnose. Okay, if you can diagnose at early stages, so with the normal abdominal operations by what is called opening the rumen, some of the material, okay, you can remove it, because nowadays many magnets are available. You can put the magnet inside the rumen. They will just trap all the nails. Okay, so you can easily evacuate from the stomach. But if it is a chronic cases, in that case, it will damage the reticulum as well as it will damage the pericardium, a diaphragm, as well as finally the diaphragm. Okay, finally the pericardium, traumatic pericarditis. From the traumatic reticulitis, it may lead to traumatic pericarditis. It's a very fatal condition, and it's seen in many of the cases. It's very important, hardware disease. But my point is how it develops due to the human errors by keeping small nails, whether it's a human nails, small wires. Okay, in the grazing field, you can see the nail, screws, bowling wires, which damage. So here you see magnets are placed into many dairy animals' reticulum. Okay, nowadays new devices came. So you can put the reticulum, here the magnets also, they can attract those nails. The third compartment, you can see the omasum. The interiorly you will find omasal lamini, where you will find many small papillae. It's not like the tongue papillae. You know what are the papillae of the tongue. But this is not the tongue papillae. Okay, omesum, internally it is known by the presence of lamini, maybe primary lamini, secondary lamini, or the tertiary lamini. Okay, and then the last compartment, that is the abomasum. So abomasum, as I have told you, is a true stomach. It is compared to the glandular stomach. That means what we have discussed already. What we have discussed about already means the glandular region of the stomach. That is cardiac gland region, Fundy gland region, and pyloric gland regions. That is same with the histology of the abomasum. Got my point? Yeah. So that is what we have discussed about the what is called non-glandular region of the stomach. This is the gross anatomy. I think Dr. Olu will deal with more in the while we discuss the gross anatomy. Okay. But histologically, there are only few differences that we deal with in the next class. Okay. What are the histological salient point? But I can roughly tell you about the histology of the four compartment. While we discuss about the rumen histology, so rumen you will find in the tunica mucosa, the lamina epithelialis will be keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. Reticulum, same, you will find a keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. Omesum also you will find keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. But but how they are different? Okay, the abomasum, though, that is clear that is a glandular region of the stomach. That means you will find cardiac gland region, Fundy gland region, and pyloric gland region we have discussed. But how these three compartments little differ histologically, rumen, reticulum, and omesum. So lining epithelium in all three is the keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. But if you go, you won't find a what is called lamina muscularis in the rumen and reticulum. In rumen and reticulum, you won't find a lamina muscularis mucosae. So that's why in rumen and reticulum, we use the term lamina propria tunica submucosa. Okay? But in case of omesum, you will find a distinct lamina muscularis mucosae. There is a difference. You got my point? Rumen and reticulum, there is no lamina muscularis, but in the omesum, the lamina muscularis mucosae is present. That is the only difference between the histology or histological structures of the rumen, reticulum, and omesum. Clear? So this about the gross anatomy I just deal with, but about the histology of this I will give you in my next class. The salient features about the histology of the rumen, reticulum, and omesum in my next class. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So any doubt here? So to this class, I will give you the text about the histology of the glandular region of the stomach up to the pyloric gland region. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So if nobody is having anything, so we'll stop here.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody is having any point, any part, any anatomy, anywhere? The last class, what part you have covered in the common classes, histology? Finish? Oh, it's fine. Finish or not yet?
No, sir. Sir, in the next class, we will teach about the cells and connective tissue.
Next class?
Cells of connective tissue.
Connective cells.
Yes, sir.
You're
Plasma
so slow.
cell.
You're going very slow, I think, no? Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then we'll stop here. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.